Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and the TikTok market, it seems, as of lately, at least as of the last 48 hours. And we have quite a loaded discussion for it today. As the first headline, we'll dive into the Chillguy news. The token did surge up to 500 mil, a bit more than that. The artist then started to threaten legal action for IP infringement. We had the token correct down to 250 mil. I think it's back to over 400 mil. We'll go into the full story of what has been going on there. It's the second main headline. Vader publishing their mission for their AI agent on base to become the quote-unquote Blackrock of the agentic economy. I do like the term of the agentic economy. It's the third headline. When I was writing the snapshot of the news for today, I had BTC at 97K. We're currently at 98K. Definitely want to dive into some of the news around the new all-time high. And we've also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs, and a discussion on the Bitcoin dominance and what we think about its impact on the general market, its impact on altcoins. So definitely stay tuned for that. Today I have Sammy with me in the co-host seat, and we're ready to get into the show. But just before we do that, friendly reminder that nothing that we say here is financial advice. This market is very risky. We do not know anything for sure, so please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Sammy, how are you doing? I'm back in Vienna. I heard you locked yourself out yesterday. What has been going on there?
Yeah, I was supposed to be on the show, but managed to nip out the house, and the front door auto locks, and I had a backdoor key in the back door, so I couldn't get in through there. So basically ended up locking myself out, having to travel for 3 hours to get a new key. And by the time I got back, I'd missed the show. So yeah, unfortunately missed you guys yesterday. But we had the Funky on the main stage, and Brett to support you guys. So it was good to listen in from a distance.
I heard that that Funky, as our official US correspondent, was stepping up because you were not locked in, you were locked out.
Locked out, exactly. Did you download TikTok, and have you been scrolling, trying to identify themes and get some exposure?
I've actually been on TikTok for a while. I tried it for my personal account a while ago. I think I tried posting 7 or 8 months ago when image or AI generated images, Midjourney, started to pop off, and I tried to kind of make reels or videos around that, which worked quite well, but then I just lost interest to do that. And the Modern Market has a TikTok where we're kind of experimenting with some short form clips on there. But now I actually started to search for all the meme coin content and hashtags around that, just so that I can retrain my feed to get more of the things that are going on TikTok. It's wild that I'm now scrolling comments for tickers to buy off TikTok.
But you know there's AI tools that are identifying trends for TikTok. So rather than having to try and work it out yourself, you can just download the tools to work out, okay, what's trending, what's hot, are there subsegments of things that are popping off, and then just trying to catch those instead. But I think it's say what?
What tool are you using for that?
I can't remember the name. I think there was 2 tools. They weren't the most effective to identify what CT was interested in terms of launching. But I'll try and find it, and I can drop it a bit later on.
Interesting. Very excited to see what goes on there, and even more efficient if I have a tool for that. But we have quite a full show for today, so let's get started. Let's start as usual with the price action. We have BTC just at 98K, up 4.8% over the last 24 hours. We have ETH up a bit, up 3% actually, touching 3.2K. And Solana is up 2% at $242. On the meme side of things, we are seeing a bit of a correction on the meme, for the meme majors, that is. We have SHIB down 1%, Pepe down 3%, Bog down a bit more, down 6%, Dog we've had down 5%, Popcat down 6%, Peanut down 15%, Gold actually up 3%, Mockcoin up 6%, but across the board, a bit more red for the meme majors than green is what we're seeing right now. in terms of the main headlines, we said it at the top of the show. We have the Chillguy story with the artist threatening legal action for an infringement on his IP. We have the second headline on the agent economy, on Vader, the AI agent on base, and their mission to become the Blackrock of the agentic economy. And we'll also have a bit of a deep dive into the new Bitcoin all-time high, into some new news related to that. Moving on to some notable sales. Let me bring that up here. First one is something that I haven't seen in a long time. It's a sale on OpenSea that went through via Emblem for a full Courier set that sold for 29 ETH. Again, haven't seen Emblem Vault sales at that valuation in quite a while. The second one is a CryptoPunk, sharing this one on screen for the people watching us on YouTube or on X video, with a knitted cap and a cigarette. And this one, quite an aesthetic punk in my opinion, sold for 45 ETH. Moving on to the JPEG majors, they do have quite a red day today. Bored Apes are down 3%, coming in at a 13 ETH floor. Budgie Penguins are down a bit more, down 5.5%. Lost the 12 ETH floor, 11.6 ETH floor for them. Azukis are just down a touch, down 1.5% of the 4.5 ETH floor. And Miladies are down 4.2%, 5.65 ETH floor for them. I think it is notable that all of the collections are still up over the last 7 days. So it's a bit of a correction, but over the last 7 days, they're still well in the green. Moving back to the Web3 Roundup, to bring you some of the news from the rest of the space, we have NVIDIA with the CEO, Jensen Huang, reporting quite bullishly his take on the agent economy. Found that one quite interesting, coming from one of, well, the most important companies, or the most important companies when it comes to AI hardware. We have Bitwise registering a Solana ETF in the US state of Delaware, or to be more precise, a statutory trust in Delaware for a proposed spot ETF for Solana. They're not the first company to do that, but still very notable to report on that. We have Tyler, who reported on the Anon token, which has soared to a 36 mil market cap when he reported on it, right now at 44 mil. And that is up on Vitalik purchasing a bit of that. I think it was just around the 0.1 ETH mark that he put into that, but definitely captured the market's interest. In terms of some other news, Phantom Wallet is now the number one wallet on the US Apple Store in the utilities category. Remember, that is something we discussed, how much Coinbase for the last cycle was a top signal, and whether we are seeing something similar with the Phantom app today, or in this cycle, if that's not the case. And then we have a news that's just started to trend on X, actually came out yesterday, with the Shanghai court ruling that a crypto ownership for private investors is legal under China law, which is both owning Bitcoin and trading Bitcoin. Sammy, is there anything from the Web3 Roundup that's standing out to you that you want to touch on?
There's so much. I think this Bitcoin sort of the price surge and the Chinese news is quite interesting, and it gets me thinking. Okay, well, surely the government has front run, and they have a significant holding of Bitcoin, and I just don't know which wallets it is that Bitcoin is held in. So that must be a non-wallet, because it would seem bizarre that they'd make it legal for private investors to acquire without holding it themselves, particularly when there's, I know you guys touched on it yesterday, that the US Strategic Reserve and the potential for that sees Bitcoin being transferred in. I think they've got like 200K or something Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm interested to see when that news breaks as to how much they actually have.
Do you think they will report on that publicly, or will they rather be a bit more reserved about their holdings or their alleged holdings?
It's a good pun though, reserved.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question, because I think it would probably be a bit of strategy behind it in terms of how much information they reveal. But yeah, it's just interesting to see that, and I think we could potentially see 100k Bitcoin today. Maybe not during the show, but yeah, I think that could be on the cards, which would be super interesting. And I'm getting those messages from normies now, being like, okay, what's your opinion on Bitcoin? Like, and I was telling them to buy it at probably about 50 or 60k, and they ignored me. I've got a few people still saying, oh, it's still it's going to top out, it's going to go down. So there's a bit of a conflicting message in the normal landscape, but outside of our crypto bubble.
Yeah, interesting. For me, it's in my circle of friends, the messages I get right now is BTC is about to touch 100k. I'm too late to buy that, right? So it's not people asking me how to buy; it's people telling me I'm too late. Funky, I see you with your hand up. Very, very curious to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Hey, GM fam. Yes, I mean, had I been on screen with my gold chain, I'm sure we would already hit 100K. But kidding aside, I want to put on my U.S. political correspondent hat for a brief moment here and say why China is super important is they're already number 2 in terms of countries behind the U.S. in terms of already owning Bitcoin that we know of, right? But I think one of the things that everybody is sleeping on that is perhaps the most, like sort of national security threat between China and the US, which has always been sort of an ongoing economic proxy war for the last several decades, is that Bitmain makes 99% of the miners. This is a Chinese company that makes the ASIC chips that go in all the miners. So whether you're talking about quote unquote American companies like Marathon or Riot or what have you, they're all running Bitmain. They're all running Antminers. And I think this is going to become an issue because if at any point China, gets in a real beef, they're like, okay, Bitmain, you can't send anything more to the US. And if the Bitcoin becomes what we envision it to be in terms of a strategic reserve for countries around the world or the backup global currency, like kind of what gold is now, but for the 21st century and beyond, this is going to be a huge, huge issue. And so I find it interesting, the China news. That was probably my number 1 thing in the headlines as well. And I think it'd be really smart because at the end of 2021, Intel announced that they were going to start making ASIC chips. And Intel has just fallen flat on its face. The PC business is dying and everything else. If they were really smart, I think that they would pivot pretty hard back to that ASIC production and try and make American-made miners for American companies so we can really compete with China. Because if we get into that position where Bitmain cuts us off, big problems.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting point, and definitely something to consider as well. To think about the infrastructure, to think about the mining aspect, because it's absolutely crucial for the Bitcoin ecosystem. And I also think that it can become, as you said, or it maybe already is, a bit of an economical proxy war. It's a war that kind of used to be fought over the local currencies, with China holding a massive amount of dollars, which they could have dumped basically at any point and had potentially could have exploited the weakness of the dollar if they wanted. But I think you're right, Funky, that the economic warfare or proxy warfare of the future could center around BTC and the BTC infrastructure as well. Sammy, did you want to come in on this?
Well, I think probably just on the commentary around the price, and we did a calculation earlier, and I don't know if we want to just get into it later or get into it now, but because the crypto market cap, what Bitcoin dominance is 62%, we can see that the total Bitcoin market cap is about 1.9 trillion. Total market cap of crypto entirely is around, I think it was like 3.2. So we were saying, okay, well, if everything else stayed equal, for it to hit a 70% Bitcoin dominance, you'd have to add another trillion to the Bitcoin market cap specifically. And then we're talking about alt seasons and stuff, but there's even questions around, well, do we actually think people are going to sell their Bitcoin and go into these other alts, or are they just going to hold it long term? And I don't know where the price is going to go when that happens, because if you've got people hoarding it like governments, there's not that much circulating supply to go around, and then you have this absolute parabolic price action. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Are we watching it in real time?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it's actually the perfect segue into our discussion point for the day, where we wanted to look exactly at the BTC dominance and what it potentially could mean, or what some of the theses are that I've been seeing on the timeline for the altcoin season. As you just set it up perfectly, we are currently at 62%. That has been a constant uptrend over the year. up 5% over last month, up 12.5% over the last 6 months, up 19% year to date. And there seems to be this popular take on the timeline I'm sharing on screen by Elon Trades, as well as other prominent traders, were saying just wait for BTC dominance to top at 70%. 2017, BTC peaked at 70% in December. Altcoins surged in January 2018. In 2021, Bitcoin dominance peaked at 73% in January. Altcoins boomed in Q2. And again, this is not a single person. That seems to be a take that is quite far spread, that as long as Bitcoin is dominating and is kind of leading the cycle, there's not a lot of room for altcoins to breathe. On the other hand, we are seeing Bitcoin rallying like crazy and definitely being the leader of this cycle. And there is massive interest in meme coins and still a massive capital inflow. Yes, we had a small correction on the day. We had also a small correction, I think, yesterday when BTC surged to 97 or 95K, whatever yesterday's all-time high was, on the runes side as well. But I don't know if with that structurally different setup of the market that we're seeing right now, with that institutional participation, with the ETF component, if that same equation works to say that once BTC dominance tops off, goes lower, that this is the point when we'll see the alts rally for this cycle. Sammy, very curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but I guess we are seeing institutions go down the risk curve in terms of ETFs being approved. They've got ETH ETFs, they're looking for Solana ETFs. I've seen Avalanche Trust being potentially set up with Grayscale. You've got XRP. So they are kind of going down that risk curve, but I think they're probably a bit more of a snail's pace compared to what retail did. So I wonder if we'll see this alt cycle at maybe a slower pace, or maybe like mini ones for retail, but then you kind of get the huge ones as institutions decide, okay, well, which asset do they want to deploy into next? And whether it's fresh capital as opposed to capital coming from Bitcoin. Because like you said, I think institutions and the structural changes, if pension funds come in and they intend to hold Bitcoin for multi-cycles, then that's just not going to come out. It's just going to be bought and held. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see the dynamics and how it plays out. I think it will be slightly different, but there will definitely be some similarities, because obviously if there's a riskier asset, typically you can probably outperform the returns from Bitcoin. So people will chase that. So you might see that capital flow to those riskier assets to try and beat the returns.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. And I think potentially we could, if this institutional interest continues in the same fashion or even accelerates, with a potential strategic Bitcoin reserve that would be actively buying BTC, et cetera, we could see dominance topping off at a higher level than it did in the previous cycles. But then again, you did the math on that. It would need to add quite a lot of capital. So I think you said we are currently at 3.2 trillion total crypto market cap. BTC is at 62%, which is 1.9 trillion. And for it to go up to 70%, which is basically adding almost another 20%, it would have to go towards 3 trillion. So it would almost have to add another trillion to its market cap. So that would mean quite a massive surge in price. But with that being said, I'm quite curious, how are you trading this for your own portfolio? Are you thinking about altcoins? Is it something you are ignoring? How are you thinking about that when it comes to memes and runes when BTC is running? Like, walk me through some of your thinking for your own trading on that.
So I've got the majors in terms of my long-term bags, which I haven't really taken any money from, and I've got my play money, which is probably the more risky stuff. The memes, I've got some memes that I'm literally just holding, probably for tier 1 listings, and then I might sell a bunch and try and rotate that back into the majors. I think the other narrative that I've been bullish on is this AI agent meta, and I think that when looking at, say, the memes versus AI, like I can see big tech coming into AI and buying up or plowing capital into there, and that's where I see a lot of money coming through. So to me, I think that there's a lot more upside to the AI side of things, and if you can pick some winners early on and do some research and get behind some things that you think are actually some interesting tech, then I think those could be huge outsized gains this cycle. And that wasn't really here last cycle. So I think for me, that's where my interest lies, and also where I think there's the most upside. I do think people are going to, like, retail is going to trade memes. I think those, you will see multi-billion-dollar market caps beyond what they are at the moment. But for me, it's harder to pick that because you're kind of going off sentiment. And we've seen that with like Chillguy running whilst Moodane kind of slumps a little bit. So you kind of, I don't know if it's like the rotation of capital, and I've got some fork bags and I saw those sell off as Chillguy ran. So it's just like, I see attention and liquidity flowing within the meme coin sector. But I just see that AI, I just see it as here. It's going to be the future. Like, we're seeing investment DAOs being set up. They're outperforming humans. I just think that that's where other investors like big tech are probably going to be interested in deploying capital. And then you've got the finance side, so like financial institutions, pension funds deploying capital into Bitcoin, ETFs and stuff. So I think that to me is super interesting.
Yeah, and we will get into more on the agent economy with the second headline when we're going to go into the news coming from Vader and Vader Research. But for all those things, is this Bitcoin dominance chart something you're watching, or is it just not meaningful for your positions in majors, in the memes where you think they could get a tier 1 listing and then the AI infrastructure plays?
No, because I think that there will be an alt season to an extent. I don't think it's going to have as much of an impact that it has previously, but there will be subsectors, like with any maturing market, that will pop off. And I think I'm just placing my bets in predominantly in the AI sector. I think that's probably where that alt season will really run. But yeah, I think the dominance will shift, and because everything's cyclical. I think capital will flow, people will make profits in the Bitcoin thing and look for those more exotic returns. So that's just human nature, probably just on a different scale. But I think that Bitcoin dominance is an interesting one to probably identify where we potentially are in this cycle, because I do think it will kind of mirror previous cycles to a degree.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very fair point. One thing that I've been thinking when it comes to altcoins is my private investment rounds, the angel investments that we did more at the start of the cycle, where some of them have performed pretty well. Like, they performed on mimetic levels almost, but a good amount of them are like down 90 to 98%, with the vesting and the claims continuing. And I'm like, at this point, I'm not willing to dump that. I'm willing to take more of a meme-like play on them and just hold them and see if any of them will catch some attention, and at least do a 3, 4, 5x from there, because they're already down so much. And because there was an initial unlock when the token traded better, most of them are either still in profit or at least allowed me to kind of capture the majority of my initial investment back. So I'm like not at any pressure to sell them, but I'm kind of gambling that one or two of them could come back and be a better play to hold them than sell them off right now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, it feels like dust in your wallet. So you're just kind of keeping it, and they're still building. So they're building something. And I think all it needs is to catch a certain narrative. And if that narrative takes off and you're kind of holding those bags, then I think it could do relatively well. But I'm already seeing a lot more TGEs come to market. I'm having people DM me about new investment rounds, like KOL rounds, all these angel investments and things. So it's definitely coming back. And we're seeing there's an uptick. So if you go to like DeFi Llama, there's an uptick in VC investment in crypto, which is interesting to see as well. So I think we could end up seeing like the purse strings get opened by not just venture capital, but KOLs and things, when all you need is that one single investment round to pop off, and then everyone tries to catch that next one. So we'll probably see that in the next couple of months as well.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. One more question on that before we have to go into the first of our 3 main headlines for the day, because you said you're getting more inbound for upcoming investment rounds, KOL rounds, angel rounds, whatever. Is it something where you are considering to allocate again at this part of the cycle, or how do you think about the KOL investing, angel investing side of things right now?
Well, I think because everyone's rushing to come to market, the power's in the KOL's shoes this time round. So we're probably in that December 2023, maybe November 2023 period where like they want to come to market, like they need people to come to market because they think it's hot at the moment. I think that will probably change in maybe 2 months' time. I mean, I can't put an exact time horizon on it, but I think that once people start to sense that we're getting to a top, then that will probably pivot to the other way around. But yeah, I think we have that power at the moment, but I'm not going to just invest in everything. It's got to be an interesting startup that I actually believe in to open the purse strings. So yeah, I think for the right thing, yes, but to be honest, mostly no at the moment.
Yeah, I'm in a very similar camp. I'm way more restrictive with the angel investing, especially as I just have to realistically benchmark it against how Bitcoin, how Solana are performing, and against those like potential meme coin plays, other plays. And that makes it very, very hard to invest right now, in my opinion. There's maybe like 1 or 2 projects that I'm looking at where I'm like, this could be an interesting one, but the majority is a hard no. And the feeling was completely different at the start of this year, end of last year.
That's the thing. I think the opportunity cost, and also getting into like a meme coin or something like that, there's no vesting or cliffs or anything like that. So you get your liquidity straight away, and then you can look for the next place. So the capital rotates a lot more efficiently. But yeah, I mean, there will be those plays that are beneficial to go into those KOL rounds. So they will come. So just has a matter of time.
Yeah, this and maybe as a final point, also the fact that at least was one of my learnings that the tokenomics can change after the TGE for your own vesting, for the entire structure of the tokenomics, and it's something that is mentioned in most of the SAFTs that the company has the right to change that. It's something that I've read, but I didn't think that this will kind of become a reality, and I've seen it with quite a few of my personal allocations having the vesting period doubled, tripled, quadrupled up in time. And this, you don't have this, as you say, with the meme coins. I mean, you have other risks, and we'll get into the Chillguy story in a second, where something happened that impacted the runner massively, but at least you have set tokenomics. The market cap is the FTV, and that's basically it. And the rest is just external risks that can happen. With that being said, let's actually get into the main headline. Let's get into the Chillguy story. I actually had a hard time to tie a price to it when I was writing the news because the token was fluctuating so much, and the only thing I could do is say that it did run up to 500 mil over the last day, showing the chart on screen right now. And then it had this massive correction down to 250 mil. We reported on the show yesterday. I think yesterday it did run up to 200 mil by the time the show came out. After that, we've seen the run up to 510-ish mil, with the top clip being at the 570 mil range. And then Philip Banks, the creator of the Chillguy IP, put a post out this morning saying, just putting it out there, Chillguy has been copyrighted. Like legally, I'll be issuing takedowns on for-profit related things over the next few days. Not like brand accounts using him as a trend. That's kind of something I don't really care about. I just do ask for credit or Xboxes, mainly unauthorized merchandise and shitcoins. Just to quickly explain that Xbox reference, the Halo, that IP in the Xbox universe, gaming IP in the Xbox universe, posted on X using a Chillguy, and the artist Philip Banks kind of replied with, "Cool post. Can I get an Xbox for that as a credit?" And as a result of that, we just said it before, the price did drop all the way down to 250, 200-ish mil. And ever since, it's been fluctuating for the last hours quite a lot, between local bottoms at 250 mil up to 440 mil. So there's an insane amount of volume going on in there. But the market can't seem to figure out which way it wants to take the token. One more additional piece of information on that is that there's another X account called Just a Chillguy CTO, and this account set up a donation wallet saying that we are just 100,000 Chillguys who appreciate your art, Philip. Donation wallet is set up. If you don't want the money, we will donate it to a charity of your choice, posting a Solana wallet address. We have it here. I'm sharing that on screen as well. On SolScan, it is currently holding 215 sols, so 52K in Solana, and a total of 66 different tokens that have been sent to it, worth $250,000, with the majority being obviously Chillguy itself, and the 484K Chillguy that are in this wallet are currently worth 176K. But because again Chillguy is fluctuating so much, the value of that wallet is fluctuating between $250,000 and almost like $500,000. So this is the current status, and I think that a lot of the FUD around the token has been kind of connected to this narrative that the on-chain metrics for Chillguy are looking excellent for a potential tier 1 listing. Wizard of Soho has been saying, look at the holders. It has more holders, or the same amount of holders as Peanut and other $1 billion+ memes. Could be great for Coinbase, could be great for a Binance listing. Then the point has been made that with a potential lawsuit pending for the IP infringement, that the tier 1 exchanges will probably hold back and not list the token for the time being. So this is the current status of that. And Sammy, wanna hear your thoughts. And did you trade the token? Do you hold any Chillguy? How are you reading all of this?
I held the token, so I bought in really late, and then I just wanted to kind of swing trade it. So I bought in, saw the momentum was kind of slowing down, and then just exited around about the 400 million mark because I was going to go to sleep and I wasn't sure what's going to happen. And ultimately, it comes down to like, well, the risk return. Like at a 400 mil market cap, like what returns are you going to make compared to something else that's new? And I know that you can't, maybe with size or whatever, but I just thought there was so much risk around this because it had only been around for what, 24 hours, less than 24 hours at the time. So I think the risk return is a huge thing. Cirrus actually made an interesting post though. He compared it to Pepe. So actually Matt Fury put out a similar legal claim on that token. And then the chart just on the screen now for those looking in on video can see that it absolutely ripped. So I think there was some sort of settlement. So I think Matt Fury took some of the tokens, sold them, and then the token allocation that he received would have been a lot more than it is when he actually sold it. But it'd be interesting to see if this guy Phil does actually take this token deal, accepts the wallet. But I think even with that, there's some additional risks. Like if this becomes a token the SEC wants to go after, like by him accepting those funds, is there a risk that he's then associated with it? So there's like a whole raft of legal questions, and we saw that, is it TJR Trades or something, the TikToker receive an SEC notice or investigation notice or something recently as well within the past 24 hours. And this guy's someone who did well out the Chillguy token and a few others. So there's a lot to it. I think that if I was in his shoes, I'd definitely be taking legal advice, but I would never look a gift horse in the mouth. If people are offering him multiple six figures to accept, that's a lot more than he's going to get just from like IP related stuff. So I would just capitalize on the momentum, seek legal advice, and just work out a way of doing this amicably.
Yeah, very much agree with that. And I think, look, ultimately it's up to the artist to proceed with this in whichever way he wants. For me, the interesting thing was to have this reflection of how normies, of how artists are looking at crypto, but also B, kind of looking at this commercialization of their own art, which is something that they might be a bit critical towards. But more so, if you look through the comments on Philip's posts, a lot of people basically saying that these donations and nothing that is being posted there is real money, and that's all like vaporware. You can't convert that into real money, and kind of viewing that even as a potential scam. That says a lot, and I found it even stronger of a statement against the backdrop that Chillguy is not something that CryptoX has like invented and pumped up. It's not a CryptoX native product like say Goat, for example. But it's actually coming more from the normie side. It's coming more from the TikTok side. Of course, CryptoX has put like a lot of capital into that and pumped it up even more and capitalized on the trend pretty quickly. But again, I think if you look at the holder structure, if you look at how many holders there are who just have 10, 20, $100, $200 in there, where that is the money that they put in, it's worth more now. It is maybe like the more normie token of this cycle. But still, when it then comes to the artists, when it then comes to the people who are outside of the quote unquote normie crypto bubble, the pushback and the view on crypto is still extremely, extremely negative.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're in the space daily. I guess we take the knowledge that we have around crypto for granted, and I can imagine that someone who's not in the space that maybe saw it on mainstream media back in 2021, hasn't engaged with it since, saw all these crypto scam like negative views on it, is then approached by thousands of degens on Twitter, like blasting him. Like I can see why he would potentially have his walls up. Yeah, maybe we need to change that perspective and the way that we approach new people coming into the space. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting scenario to watch unfold.
Yeah, absolutely. One final point that I want to make on this before we have to move to the next headline, because we only have like around 18 minutes left in the show, is to take a very quick look at Kaito, the analytics tool, to just see where Chillguy is ranking in terms of the sentiment. And it's probably not a surprise that it is the number one when it comes to meme coins. Sharing this off screen with a massive lead. Chillguy is at 16%. Doge is coming in the second place, 7%. Then Zerebro at 5%, 5% for Pepe as well. Then Fartcoin. That's kind of also reflecting the narrative mindshare, where we have AI leading with 27%, followed by memes with 21%. And that leads us into the second headline. We have this news coming out from Vader, the AI agent on Base, that said their new mission, published a long article with that, is to become the Blackrock of the agentic economy. And Sammy, you have the full breakdown for us, what that even means, what Vader is, what is going on with the Blackrock mission.
Yeah, so for those of you looking in on the video, you'll be able to see the article that was dropped with respect to this. So Vader AI, it's an AI agent that was built on the Virtuals protocol probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. It's currently ranked around about 5th, I think, by market cap. So I think it's around about 9.5 million at the moment. So Janssen, who we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, aka Ether Mage, he's the founder or contributor 001 to Virtuals protocol. So that for those that are trying to understand more, it'd be great to maybe just go back to that video and have a refresher. But Vader AI specifically is an AI agent that was set up by Vader Research. So he's the founder of Monetize AI, and he does a decentralized AI podcast, well worth listening into. So it has a good understanding of like the decentralized AI landscape and how that's evolving. This paper kind of suggests that he wants to build the Blackrock for AI agents. So what does this mean? So Vader AI is effectively going to become the investment DAO manager. And there's currently a token called Vader that's available to purchase on the Virtuals protocol, so on Base or via Solana. So they've enabled it to like cross-chain liquidity. So you can purchase that on Solana, and you can actually stake that token. So not the Solana side, but on the Base side, you can stake that into a website that they have, and that will give you access, or potentially give you whitelist access to this new token that will kind of encompass the whole investment DAO. We've seen similar things like AI16Z and DAO.fun have been launched on the Solana side. They effectively, you have a certain seeded amount of assets. I think that AI16Z started with about 75K, and that's kind of run up to about 7.5 million in terms of net asset value in a 4-week time frame. So you can see that that's an insane return. So 100x in the underlying assets within the fund, and then the actual fair price of AI16Z token specifically is trading at a significant premium to that. and people are referring to that as the AI premium. So I think Vader AI is effectively doing a similar thing, but breaking it out further into 3 segments. So Ledge, if you just scroll up to the diagram, I can quickly talk through that. There's like there's a diagram here that shows kind of a split of how that investment kind of DAO will be managed. You've got so Sequoia, who will be looking at virtual agents, so specifically, and they've got some sub agents there. So they'll potentially buy up some of these tokens, get a vested interest, and then use like a market analysis approach to then decide how to invest. And this will all be done by the investment or the AI agent specifically. So you've got the virtuals agent, you've got the meme coin investment DAO, and you've got the top one, which I can't see from here. I think it's the agent coin investment DAO. So the agent coin investment DAO is effectively what the paper is suggesting. So getting access to that agent token, which in there you've got sort of 4 other investment agents that will do market analysis, various. So you've got, I think, Zerebro's in there. You've got AI XBT, which is another big one that's just literally pumped from about 30 million to 60 million in the past 24 hours. Zerebro's the second biggest behind GOAT at the moment in terms of a token, but it's directly linked to Zerebro, the AI agent, whereas GOAT is separate, that was kind of endorsed by Truth Terminal, who's actually, I think, is also in there. I can't see him off the top of my head, but yeah, so that in essence, these Vader is intending to engage with all these other AI agents to form investment thesis, strategy, and effectively manage these funds. They've got a wallet that's got about 16K currently in a Sol wallet. I think the biggest investment was about 22% in Zerebro, which is kind of leading by mindshare on the AI side of things. And ultimately, it's just an interesting way to get exposure to something that I think could be groundbreaking. If you've got AI agents acting autonomously and maybe even continuing to outperform humans, I think that could be quite significant. With the added byproduct is like incentive alignment, like they don't need to take any funds out to live. So you're effectively automating the asset management process, and that's kind of where he's alluding to with that Blackrock comparison, like creating the AI agent equivalent to that. So it could end up becoming like this dominant force in the market. Obviously very risky, very early stage, but a really interesting value proposition. So I'm definitely going to try and cover it more as it evolves.
That's a fantastic breakdown. I think it's quite complex to understand what's going on, and it's quite complex to kind of understand the step up from having one AI agent that acts autonomously and does its thing and posts and trades and whatever. And in a previous post, Vader has just done a quick breakdown basically on how that works on an individual level. You have an AI agent that buys other AI agent coins, shields them to its followers, profits from its investments, airdrops profits to holders and followers. This is already happening with Vader AI in the wallet that you mentioned, Sammy, before. And then exactly this concept is basically being leveled up to the next stage with that DAO level, with a structure that becomes more similar to AI 16Z, where you in this case not only have one DAO, you have this, as you described it, this master DAO, and then the 3 sub DAOs with different investment focuses. And I think what also will be interesting in that, and it's something that you have touched on, is the interaction between the individual AI agents. And I'm curious to see how that plays out in reality, because something we're seeing right now on X is AI agents talking to one another in replies and posts, and that's nice. That can be fun, but it can get pretty bothersome. But I would expect that this collaboration is more about exchanging information between the individual AI agents, more so than just talking to one another in the Telegram group or on X. It's actually more about like coordination between agents, which to me makes a massive difference. Am I reading this right, Sammy?
Yeah, exactly. And I think on the AI 16Z side, you've seen the ELIZA framework. People might have mentioned that or seen that referenced quite a lot. And effectively what that is you've got swarms of agents interacting with each other. And in that framework, these new AI agents pledge like a tribute to AI16Z, it's then included in like a list or like a swarm. They can then all interact with each other. They have a vested interest. And it's a similar thing here. Like we've seen Cerebro, Vader has like an investment in that particular token. And Cerebro's as part of that investment DAO. So he's there, or it's there, discussing how it can maybe form various theses and things. But you've also got AI XBT, which is more of a market analyst, but then it doesn't hold any tokens, AI XBT tokens. So I'm like, okay, well, it's got investment within Cerebro. Will it invest in AI XBT? Or like, what's the thesis behind that and why it doesn't have any exposure to that? And it actually makes me kind of look back to the whole Friendtech era where people took this 3-3 approach where you hold my keys, I hold yours. And I'm curious to see if these AI agents do a similar thing where they buy up each other's tokens, have like a vested interest in the success of each other. And then if there's some bad acting or whatever might happen, then maybe there's like slashing in terms of like people sell that token, or like what's actually going to fold out, and what strategies will these deploy to kind of increase the value of their overall portfolio.
Yeah, I definitely can see that coming. I think I had a post 1 or 2 days ago saying that in the future we'll see a cluster of AIs using us humans as the exit liquidity. But you mentioned another interesting aspect that I want to dive a bit more into and spend a bit more on that news and be rather brief on the last one, the Bitcoin side of things, because we discussed it in the discussion. There's not so much to add to that. But you mentioned the staking, and I want to break that down once more, how it works to understand it a bit better. So the way it works according to the light paper is the Vader holders can stake the tokens to earn additional rewards and access to quote unquote exclusive opportunities. The stake tokens are time locked for 3 months. And the way it works precisely is that for every 10K Vader staked, stakers can commit 1 SOL into the DAO. So if you want to commit 42 SOL in the DAO, you would need to stake 420,000 Vader is the example that they're referencing. And then they're mentioning some of the potential staking rewards, which is airdrop from Vader AI investment DAO portfolio holdings, airdrop from upcoming agent coins that want to partner with Vader AI, airdrops from future agent coins launched by Vader AI, airdrops from upcoming agent coins that use Monetize AI's tokens incentive optimization tool, which is the company by Vader Research that you had mentioned previously, Sammy, and then airdrops from upcoming agent coins that use Vader's AI agent creation kit. So basically, the thinking here is you stake Vader, and the amount of Vader that you stake is then defining the amount of Solana that you then commit into the DAO that you have to come up with additionally. And based on that, you get the rewards that we just read from the light paper. Is this the correct way to read it? So just staking the Vader token isn't enough, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I'd read that as well. Yeah, the other way of interpreting it would be to stake that 10K Vader with the expectation of getting 1 SOL back, but I don't think that's correct. I think the way that you've kind of perceived it is correct.
And is that something you are holding, Vader? Question mark on that. Is that something you're doing the staking? I think I'm holding Vader as well. So good to disclose that both of us are holders. But is the staking something you're considering or you have done before?
I've already staked it. Yeah, not a huge amount, but just to get some exposure, and also I think having a vested interest in that would be more interesting than just being like a bystander. So I literally staked it all my Vader.
The 3-month time lock is probably something that's quite okay. I would think. I don't think that the AI meta is going to disappear within the next 3 months.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure that the other way of doing it would be to not stake and then buy it on the open market in terms of the fund. I don't know if it's closed or whether it's open. So that would be interesting just to clarify, and maybe we can chat to Vader about it. Because obviously once the investment DAO launches, like whether that's openly tradable, similar to AI16Z, but AI16Z is trading at a significant premium. So actually, if it means staking Vader now, and if it does a similar trajectory to AI16Z, you'd be getting in at a significant discount to what the open market price might be. But that's pure speculation and assuming that it unfolds in a similar manner to AI16Z.
One thing that just crossed my mind is, because both of us, I would say, are like reasonably well invested in the AI side. Both of us are like pretty interested in what's going on. But I also think that both of us occasionally can struggle with the complexity of the things that are going on. And I wonder how that feels for someone who's absolutely not into those things. And I think that understanding an AI agent like Goat on an individual level, and that they're posting and doing their thing and maybe managing their own wallet is one thing, and that's like easy to conceptualize. But when it comes to those agentic frameworks and then comparing them to one another, I think this gets really, really complex for the average participant. If you were to ask me what the main difference is between AI 16C and the ELISA framework and Vader with the agentic framework that they are building, I would honestly struggle to give you a good answer to the question.
Yeah, I mean, the specifics, I was struck, it's probably about how like the strategies formed to invest. Because I don't really have visibility of how the AI 16Z thought process is, but yeah, I think ultimately the difference in terms of the AI engine that's powering both of those, and also maybe the teams behind it to a certain extent. I don't know what input they have in terms of human intervention, but yeah, I suspect the structure and also probably the knowledge and understanding of the bot behind it. But that's just literally a high level. I wouldn't know the specifics. So yeah, I agree with you. Like on the point around the average layman, it's going to be very difficult to distinguish.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a couple more complexity levels added to that pretty quickly. We have 2-3 minutes left in the show. Let's quickly get into the last headline. We said at the top of the show, BTC reached a new all-time high, 98K, currently at 97.6K. Didn't manage to hit 100K throughout the show, but there's been this interesting article on Cointelegraph that came out 47 minutes ago, so actually pretty fresh off the press, saying Bitcoin, quote unquote, teleportation due as traders bet on BTC price passing 100K. Talks about the snap gains that we've seen. The interesting part was that data from both TradingView and their own tool, Cointelegraph Markets Pro, showed that there's actually a lot of liquidity coming in above 100K. There's actually a lot of demand in the order books above 100K. And they're saying that this new ask liquidity showing up is a good confirmation of the market already starting to price above 100K. Obviously, I think this is a number that everyone's kind of looking forward to, but it's also relevant once we hit that and once we have the US markets open trading in a bit after the show for the spot ETFs, that could be a pretty fast move. But I found it interesting to bring that to the attention of our listeners, that actually the order books look pretty solid above that 100K mark. Sammy, any final point that you want to make on that before we close the show for the day?
Yeah, I mean, I also saw some discussion around the MicroStrategy trade, because that stock is trading, like if you look at the chart, it's gone parabolic and it hit new all-time highs beyond when it did in the early 2000s or the dot-com bubble. So people are kind of preempting a potential correction on that. And is that trading at a premium? So is that suggesting people are willing to buy Bitcoin at a significant premium to its spot value by buying MicroStrategy rather than just buying Bitcoin? Which to me would suggest that people are willing to pay significantly above 100K for it. And I don't know if that's just information asymmetry or just people just not willing to deploy directly into Bitcoin or ETFs. And that's something that I'm just kind of monitoring as well. I don't know if you have a view on that.
It's actually a great call. Yeah, MicroStrategy is up 10% on the day as of the close of the market yesterday at 400, trading at $473. And in pre-market, it's up another 10%, already trading at $522. That's a fantastic point, showing that surplus demand already ahead of the market opening, and one that I had missed. But that brings us to the end of our show. So Sammy, thank you very much for hosting the show with me today. Thank you, Funky, who has left us in the meantime, but has contributed at the start of the show. Also, thank you to everyone in the audience for choosing to spend this hour with us. Thank you to everyone in the YouTube comments. We see you, we appreciate you, and we hope to do it all again with you tomorrow. We're going to be back at the same time, 7 a.m. Eastern time, live on X, live on YouTube, and also hosting the recording of the show to Apple Music, to Spotify, obviously on YouTube, where we've been doing more clips, some shorter, some longer form, experimenting with that. So definitely feel free to check out our YouTube channel as well. And in the meantime, have a great day and see you tomorrow.